Hello and welcome to the Watchmaker's Apprentice podcast. I'm your host, Garen Fraze, and there will always be more to learn about watchmaking, so I will always be an apprentice. Today I have a very special episode for you guys. This weekend I went to the Texas Watch event. It was called a Holiday Hangover, and there was a handful of Texas-based micro brands there showing their product and telling their story, and I got a chance to speak with all of them from 4 really awesome companies that are doing great work in the Texas micro brand space. So I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment to let me know what you think, and follow on Instagram so that you don't miss any of the upcoming content. Thanks, guys. Hey guys, Editor Garen here. Real quick before we get into the interviews, I just want to apologize in advance for some inconsistencies in the audio quality today. We were, in different places. There's background noise, yada yada yada. You know all the excuses, but just wanted to warn you guys. It's going to be a little bit inconsistent, so bear with me. Thanks. I'm here with Nathan at Trafford Watchco. This is a independent company based in Austin. Nathan, thank you for coming on the show. Welcome. I just want to start out and ask, what inspired you to get started, and what's your why, basically?
Sure, thanks. We've been doing this. I say we, it's me. Mm-hmm. I've been doing this for like 3 years or so. Always been into watches myself, but I found myself wanting to make a product that would last forever. That type of stuff is really interesting to me. At home I have a stupid collection of spinning tops, but they're like really well made. And I just like that kind of stuff. So it's interesting to me to make something that somebody can give to future generations and be passed down and stuff. And already enjoying watches was a natural thing for me to do. So during COVID, I'm a designer by trade. And during COVID, I had a little extra time not commuting to work, and figured out how to do this thing. So here I am. It's crazy.
So you spoke to the long-term viability of this product. So you've got Miotas and also the Mecha Quartz, and those are great, reliable, serviceable movements. And so I guess the next question I have is, what are your plans for the future to offer service and to make sure that these watches can continue to work for future generations?
Yep. So with being a smaller company, one of the most important things for us, there's the financial side of it, how much these movements cost, and the entire things, how much they cost to make, the packaging and all that, the marketing. These are all different parts of owning any kind of business, but especially for a watch business. One of the things that other companies don't have to deal with as much is the service side. What happens when a watch malfunctions and you have to get it fixed and whatnot. So one of the important things that we do at the very beginning is choose movements that will last. We get very few watches that need service, so that's a big important thing for us to start with, is picking movements that are going to last a long time and not need work every 5 years or whatever. But with that being said, as we grow, we want to bring the assembly of the watches overseas back to the U.S. And part of that is going to be having a specific person or group that works on the assembly and the service, so it's all contained in one bubble. Okay. So that's the long-term goal is to have that all done over here.
Awesome.
So that customers can just send them to us and know that it's going to get fixed.
Good. I think that's a great idea. So kind of the long-term plan is to have a watchmaker within the company that can kind of handle all that, as well as the assembly here in the States, in Austin, hopefully.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's the plan. I mean, right now I do all of the fixing of things that come in. I'm proficient enough with the technical side of it to where I can fix these movements that I know really well.
Good.
But as the movements get more complex, we're doing a GMT next year.
Very exciting.
This year. So that's going to be a little bit more complicated, to where I'm going to want somebody to be dedicated to that while I'm doing other stuff. So I don't really want to be fixing watches. The goal is not to have any watches that need fixing, but it does happen with anything. So yeah, the goal is to have dedicated people in town that can do that job.
Awesome, that's great. And I'm very excited to see the GMT as well. The models that you have here today are awesome. Great colors, great, super playful designs and everything. So I'm really excited to follow Trafford and see where it goes.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it. All right, I'm here with Macklin at Canopy Watchco. Macklin, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, of course.
So could you just tell us a little bit about Canopy and the inspiration behind the brand and this awesome watch that you've got here in front of us?
Yeah, so as you already mentioned, we are Canopy Watch Company based out of Houston, Texas. We just launched this model about a year and a half ago, but we were founded in 2020. My background is in aerospace engineering, and I've had a lifelong passion for watches, so I've always had the dream of making my own brand, and when we started trying to make this dream become a reality, I knew that I wanted to blend in some aerospace themes into the market. So with our first product, this dive watch, we incorporated some materials like the forged carbon fiber to try to blend the aerospace and dive watches together. That's kind of the overall theme of the brand. We'll try to incorporate stuff like that throughout our models as we expand our lineup.
Awesome, and I really love that bezel. It was really striking when I first saw it. I had seen the pictures, but seeing it in person, it's a really cool effect with that carbon. And we were talking earlier. You said you have plans for a field watch. How are you intending to incorporate the aerospace theme in the field watch?
Sure. So we're going to use high-grade titanium materials throughout for both the case and the bracelet. Titanium in itself, of course, is common in the aerospace industry. We're also going to try to incorporate the similar forged carbon from the Wake One, more of an artistic way, maybe a fun case back or bezel crown insert, something like that. So,
good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a watchmaker, I'm very interested in the serviceability of watches, and my next question is, obviously the Solitas that you have in here, and you were talking about Miyotas for the field watch. Those are very serviceable movements. Do you have plans to bring watchmakers in-house to do that within the company and make sure that these watches are serviceable and authenticated through your company for years to come?
Yeah, as of right now, we don't have any solid plans, but that's absolutely something, as our brand continues to grow, that we would like to provide to our customers. We've always been about and will always be about putting the customer first and providing the best, customer service support that we can. So as our brand grows and the demand with that grows for serviceability, we'll definitely be looking to incorporate some sort of in-house service options.
All right, great. Well, Mac, I really appreciate the time. You've got a great company. This first watch is awesome, and if you're starting here, I mean, it's only up. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, I'm here with Peter of Jack Mason, and Peter, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So, just real briefly, tell us about the inspiration behind the brand and kind of what got you here and where you're going.
Yeah, the inspiration, we started in 2015 as in Dallas, Texas, which is where we still are. But the whole inspiration was to bring fine, sort of classic Swiss iconic designs, but under an American brand name. And we carved out a space for us where we feel like we can really kind of work towards becoming a premier American brand. And so that's kind of how we started. And recently we've been really having several different releases that are reminiscent of more iconic type watches, getting into now Swiss movements and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and to speak to that idea of having the iconic American brand, I think especially with the release of y'all's GMT models, there's been some buzz in the watch enthusiast space, and seeing them in person for the first time today, I'm really taken aback by the quality of the build on those GMT models. They're really great. I get the hype. I had no doubts, but this really confirmed it. So. Yeah, congrats on all the success in that particular model. And then another model I saw today that I really like is this dress model that hasn't been released yet, but is on the way. And that was, you were talking about having Swiss movements. So why did you decide to transition from Miota to the Solitas?
Yeah, I would probably kind of describe it as layering on. I think it's good to have, different options for whatever the watch is supposed to be. But when it comes to a dress watch, it's, in my opinion, nothing really beats a very classic manual wind movement. And so when it comes to movement selection, obviously Solita offers a really beautifully finished manual wind there. So again, it offers something a little bit different, but it is true to the inspiration of this dress watch, which is from the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, I think it's a home run. When the people see it, they're gonna love it. The next question I have, and then I'll let you get to packing up. You guys have had a lot of success recently, and you're using serviceable Miotas and now Solitas. So do you guys have plans to bring watchmakers on and have in-house service or offer through affiliate watchmakers service on your product that's authorized and guaranteed, and making sure that these watches have the long life that they deserve?
Yes, absolutely. Part of the big thing that especially enthusiasts want here in the U.S. is more serviceability for various different reasons. For on the brand side of things, I think it enhances quality control, faster turnaround times. But especially having something local here in Texas, that's kind of the long-term vision for Jack Mason, is to be able to do things more in-house, where I can personally go take a look and see if the watches are, up to our own standards. And so, yes, that is kind of the goal and vision, is to have more of that here locally.
Yeah, and that's, talking to all these guys today, that's kind of been the theme, is that there's the demand for that. They just need the watchmakers, basically. So.
Yep, that's correct.
All right, Peter, I really appreciate the time. Congratulations on all the success you guys have seen, and thanks for coming out today.
Thank you.
All right, I'm here with Stephen Lee of Dufrane, a great watch company based out of Austin. And Stephen, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much so.
So the first thing I want to get into is, what's your why? Why did you start Dufrane? What was the inspiration, and what's your reason to get up every day and make these great watches?
Yeah, so I have always been just a kind of a fan, or my mom would say a nut, of watches ever since I was a kid. So I've just always liked watches. As I got older, I got more and more into understanding watches. Me and a buddy went on a trip throughout different parts of Switzerland to actually tour some facilities, and actually really started to uncover. So as I got older, I got more into watches. Then my first watch is probably similar to what nice watch that most people have, which was a Tag.
Nice.
Everybody kind of starts their journey there, it seems. But then I really started to get a better appreciation as I started to learn more about it. But I've always been a collector, and I kept a little notebook with just different design ideas. But I loved watches. I loved the industry that I thought, but I didn't know how to get into it.
Right.
And then one day, I literally Googled how to start a watch brand. It was that simple, also that expensive and that hard.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of trial and error, a lot of things I just didn't know. I'm not a trained watchmaker by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a trained designer. So a lot of these things that I did, I bought old movements off of eBay, tore them down, put them together, took pictures, took videos, trying to figure out how they worked. But I started the brand just simply out of the fact that I love watches so much. I loved learning more about them. And the name Dufrane is actually my mother's maiden name. So it's an homage to her support, both my mom and dad, but really her support of just this crazy thing as a kid that I like to do. So my why is just really, truly because I love watches.
And that's awesome. And I think that shows in the designs that you have and the watches that are on display today. Even when, way back when I first met you at the AWCI convention here in Austin.
Back when you were a young
I was a 17-year-old wide-eyed watchmaking student. And I was really captivated by your story of, I make watches in Austin, here in Texas. I was like, that's awesome. Tell me more. And so it's cool to come full circle and now see the Barton Springs in its second iteration, which was the watch that was on display there.
That's right.
And all the other watches that are accompanying it now, including my personal favorite is the Waterloo. I really love the linen dial and the texture of the kind of the multi-layered dial.
Yeah, thank you.
And then that copper hammered texture as well is that's a stunner. So congratulations on the success.
Yeah,
and
well, and just to kind of add to that was part of, like, it kind of adds to the why as well. Like, I love Austin. So I'm not from Austin. I moved here in 98, but my dad, one of his best buddies that he went through the service with lived here in Austin. And so as a kid through the 70s and 80s, we would come down to Austin all the time. And so I wanted to fuse that kind of love of Austin and watches together. And that's what helped kind of spawn the brand, is, if you will, of like everything is tied to some sort of Austin historical figure or landmark. And so these designs kind of, I don't want to say design themselves, but it's so easy to tie those two pieces together.
Yeah.
The design of the watch, the meaning behind it, and something really significant or cool about Austin itself. So there's so many different pieces I could design here. It's crazy for sure.
That's great. And so I guess to follow that up, now that you've made so many great pieces and they're out there in the world on the wrists of many different enthusiasts, you continue to develop awesome watches every year. The Littlefield GMT that's coming out is great. I saw the first examples in the flesh today. I think that's a home run. As a watchmaker, I'm obviously concerned with serviceability and the long-term life of these watches. So what is your plan for serviceability in the future? I know it's still a younger company, but these watches are on their way to needing service, some of the earlier models. So what's your plan for that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I get, actually folks will ask me that as they're buying it, because the watch has its warranty, but then the brand is it'll be 8 years old in a couple weeks here in February. And so, that service range between, call it 5 to 8 years, that interval is coming up for some folks. Now, whether they do it or not is up to them, right? Now, I have held that any qualified watchmaker, when people ask, any qualified watchmaker can service these. I actually have that in my owner's manual for each of the pieces as well. But also, I'll service them. And so the pieces that I build or I make, and the movements that I put in them, with the exception of the Salita 330, I can tear down and service and put back together. Now, I give my customers the option of what they want to do, whether they're in, because not everybody buys it from Austin. They're all across the country or the world for that matter. So any local watchmaker, reputable watchmaker is what I say, can service those movements. They're very, very, established, long-standing movements that are easy to service for a watchmaker. So I take the stance of, you can either find a local one in your particular market, or if you want, I can do and provide that service as well. Honestly, only a handful of people have opted to do that, to go through a full cleaning and me do a full breakdown and reassembly. But it is an option that's available. I guess you can't make somebody maintain.
Right. Yeah.
You can't make them change the oil in their car either, or whatever the equivalent would be.
That's kind of the eternal struggle as watchmakers is generally, in my work, the type of customers that I serve, a lot of them are not watch enthusiasts.
Yeah.
They are fans of the brand, right? And so a lot of them don't understand what all goes into a mechanical watch and its maintenance. So they'll just wait until it stops running and then bring it in.
Or
and
something
then,
really wonky happens, right?
And then those jobs are a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
Whereas a watch enthusiast who kind of understands a little bit more what these watches need,
Yeah.
they bring it in every 5 years for
Yeah.
preventative maintenance, and those are the most pleasant watches to
Yeah.
service. But I think you went a really smart route by using movements that are established, kind of like, I mean, the Sellita 220s and kind of those basic calibers. That's what we work on in school. That's
Yeah.
what we learn on.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really smart way to go about it. And in this episode, I'm trying to highlight the ever-increasing demand for watchmakers in the United States, especially as brands like yours and the other three that I talked to today, as those brands propagate and create more and more watches, that demand is never-ending.
Yeah.
So do you think you see a future where you have an in-house watchmaker who's specifically dedicated to service and warranty work and maintenance and repair and that type of thing?
No, it's a great question. I'm not 100% sure, only because my desire of the brand is only to hit a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm real close to that right now, meaning I'm not looking to really have too much outside, and I'm a little bit of a control freak, but too much outside of my control.
Right.
I like doing the assembly. I like doing all of the packaging even.
Mm-hmm.
I like, I just like so many aspects to it because I know that it's done and it's done the way I want it to and hopefully done right. But I will tell you from an industry perspective, I mean, the micro brand space has had to massively increase the demand and the need, and especially over the last couple of years, because it's not been a 15-year thing. It's been within the last, call it 7 to 10 years that micro brands have really taken on. And all of those movements are going to need to be serviced.
Eventually, yeah.
Eventually. And so, especially for some of these micro brands that may no longer be around, and that piece has real sentimental value to that owner, I want to do. I don't want it to just sit here and not work. I want it to be functional for me. So the advantage of taking a readily available movement, one that is very easy to service, helps that longevity perspective. But for me personally, as the Dufrane brand, I don't necessarily know that I'll have an in-house watchmaker. There may be things that I will outsource, but again, that's just because I only want to be a certain size.
Right.
I just love it so much. I don't want
it's maintainable, and
Yeah.
it's the one-man show. Yeah,
This
I
is
get
what
it.
I'll be doing for the next 20 years, and as long as I keep it at the right size, it will just be me for the next 20 years. Yeah.
And that's great. I think there's a realistic demand for a service center that's specifically dedicated to these types of brands. I think that might be something that the watch industry
I
could use.
very much agree, and not even just in my opinion, because some of these movements are used by big brands, but it's just that tier of I don't know what you want to call it, approachability, that it's not a $700 service fee for a movement that we both know doesn't cost.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Let's just change the movement. So I think there is an interest. That's a. Have you thought of that before?
Maybe.
That's an interesting idea because it's a very approachable market that you're going after to say, I have all of these partnerships with all of these different, brands that I'm there, I provide service for them.
Yeah.
You may be onto something.
I don't know that I have the capacity for that, but it's
Maybe
an idea.
That's another episode.
Yeah, I'll put that idea out into the ether and hope that somebody picks up on it, because there certainly is the demand.
Totally.
Talking to everyone that's been here today has definitely illustrated that to me. And I just I see these great watches being produced in small scale, and I think it's incredible to see the industry growing in the States.
Yeah.
And I just hope that as watchmakers we can maintain it, because the biggest issue in the watchmaking community is we don't have it's too small of a community. We need more watchmakers.
No, for sure. I mean, just the 4 brands represented here today, that's thousands of watches a year.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And there's a time frame by which they will need to be serviced. So totally agree.
Well, Stephen, I really appreciate the time. I really appreciate what you do here at Dufrane. I think the watches are great. Congratulations on this new space. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
A great showroom. And yeah, I really appreciate the time.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure. Thank you. Level 50.
That's right.